So, with just days to go before the Super Bowl, we are only now getting a confirmation of the movie trailers we can expect to see on game day. And as I'm sure many of you noticed right away, most of the big movies for 2015 and even 2016, there were hopes for a Batman v Superman spot, are not listed here. And it's also pretty heavy on Universal movies. What's going on here, and why did it take so long to even get this list when in the past Super Bowl trailers have been announced weeks in advance? Well, it would seem that the internet and conglomerates have finally changed for good the way movies are advertised. Now, this year the Super Bowl is airing on NBC. Every year it switches networks, to be fair, and NBC is part of the Comcast conglomerate, which also includes Universal Pictures. So apparently the other Hollywood conglomerates don't want to help Comcast out with their Super Bowl ratings, especially because they use the same trick to help out their own in-house events. And the best, most recent example of this is Disney and their very valuable Marvel trailers. Why help out Comcast in the Super Bowl when they can help their own shows? For instance, Ant-Man's trailer debuted with Agent Carter's premiere on Disney-owned ABC. And then for that big college football game over on ESPN, also owned by Disney, they debuted, well, let's call it Avengers Age of Ultron trailer 1.5, because there wasn't a lot of new material included there. So yes, Disney is going to hold tight to those Marvel trailers, and they're going to really just sidestep what's not only an American tradition, but a Hollywood tradition, and that's promoting your movie during the Super Bowl. Although that's nothing new for Marvel, because they've also sidestepped Comic-Con. As of course I'm sure you recall, their big Marvel Phase 3 announcement wasn't made during that iconic convention, but on their own press day. They made the news themselves, instead of participating in a bigger event where they had to compete for headlines, which I think is also something all the studios are obviously now considering, and why they're not participating in the Super Bowl. The other thing is you have to pay to participate in the Super Bowl. It is north of $4 million for a spot during the actual game, a little less if you want to advertise during the pre-game show, and there are some hot trailers debuting then. The ones I think that aren't quite a match with the football audience, I'll let you know which ones you'll have to tune in early to see. But it's still an incredible amount of money. So why pay that for a movie that makes its own headlines anyway? These big pictures that everyone's already excited to see. You can release those anytime you want on the internet for free and a lot longer than 30 seconds. You can debut north of 2 minutes on your own schedule and dominate the news cycle for at least, let's say, 24 hours, or even 12 if you're a little bit of a smaller film. Let's say the Fantastic Four trailer, which just recently debuted. I'd say that had a good 12 hours in the news cycle, where it's pretty much everything, the only thing people were talking about. But of course, it is an American tradition and a Hollywood tradition to advertise some movies on game day. Universal is stepping in to make sure there are lots of exciting trailers, because I think they know that's part of the Super Bowl viewing experience. And also, heck, it's free for them because they're all part of the same company. Although Disney is participating on a smaller film that I think they feel is worth the ad buy to get more eyeballs for the film. So before we go into the list in detail, I just want to ask you, what do you think of this change in advertising movies? Do you feel that it's still prestigious for a big movie to have a Super Bowl spot? And does it change your viewing experience of the Super Bowl if there aren't a whole bunch of really big, exciting movie trailers debuting? Does that lessen your excitement at all? And do you think the studios, I guess at the end of the day, the big question is, are they making the right call here? And what do you think of, this politicking, even on events like the Super Bowl? You would think the Super Bowl would rise above it, but apparently not. Alright, so the trailers you can expect to see, let's go start with Universal, because they're the ones who are going to dominate the advertising here, again, because it's in-house. Now, the one everybody knew about, the one that we did know weeks in advance, was Jurassic World. That slipped on a company memo that went out. It got onto the internet. Even the trailer, apparently, was on the internet just for a few hours by mistake. So expect to see a new trailer for Jurassic World. By the way, any trailer that features footage from the actual movie, I will also be reviewing after the game, but I'm not going to review anything that has footage or animation created specifically for the Super Bowl, because that's kind of a different conversation, and that's the case for a couple of movies here. But anyway, Jurassic World, that's a big one from Universal. Then also Ted 2 is going to have a spot. Now they have an interesting situation. Ted 2 is going to have a Tom Brady spot. He apparently has a cameo in the actual film, and this 30-second spot is going to throw to the internet, well, there will be a raunchier, longer trailer waiting for viewers. This, of course, is in the tradition of the first Ted, very raunchy R-rated film, one of the most successful R-rated films of all time, although American Sniper has swooped in and really dominated that rating. But Ted 2 should be a big hit for Universal, and this trailer, I think, will be one of the hottest to come out of the Super Bowl. So you've got that spot. You've also got a Minions spot, which has already debuted, by the way, online. I'm curious how you guys feel about that. Do you mind having these things debut in advance of the game, or do you feel they really should hit the airwaves for the first time on game day instead of kind of lessening the impact? Although it's also to get out ahead of the conversation when it's going to be very crowded for getting people's attention on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. So Minions already out, that spot is already out, but it will air during the game, and it's made specifically for the Super Bowl. No new footage from the movie included there. Then, some people thought that maybe Furious 7 would have a spot, because that's a Universal picture. They've advertised in the past for that franchise on the Super Bowl, but it looks like they're not going to promote that movie here. Instead, they're going to try and give an assist to Seventh Son, which is a legendary picture which Universal picked up late in the game, because when they made their deal with Universal, it came over from Warner Brothers, actually, that film, and it opens the weekend right after the Super Bowl. So that's actually a very good use of the spot to really make sure that movie is fresh on people's minds. All right, so that's Universal's lineup. They have by far and away the most movies included here. Now let's go to the other studios. Now Disney, as I said, is participating, and they're going to promote Tomorrowland. Not exactly a match with maybe your hardcore football fans, but a lot of casual fans tune in for the Super Bowl, a lot of families, and Tomorrowland, of course, is supposed to be a big family film. It is, I think, to some way, you could say, a live-action fairy tale, because it's promoting a land in Disney World and Disneyland, Tomorrowland. It'll literally try and be a movie about that part of the theme parks, so I think it could kind of go into that space for Disney, and we'll see how it connects with family viewers. And also, guys should be interested, although I think a lot of studies say both men and women watch the Super Bowl these days, but George Clooney, of course, stars, Hugh Laurie, very football-friendly cast. So that's what Disney is going to be advertising. No big Marvel movies. Then we see something from Fox. People expected maybe a Fantastic Four spot. That's already had its big trailer. As I said, dominated the conversation for at least a good 12 hours. So instead they're going to promote Kingsman: The Secret Service, which is opening 2 weeks after the Super Bowl and has some very stiff competition from 50 Shades of Grey. So I think Fox is very smart to try and give it, that picture a little bit of an extra edge. You'll see a spot for Kingsman. That, however, will be during the game. Now for some pre-game spots. Lionsgate is doing Insurgent. That's the sequel to Divergent. Insurgent's spot will air during the pregame. I think that's a good decision. Lionsgate usually doesn't, it's a smaller studio. They're pretty big these days, but still not quite as big as the original studios from the heyday of Hollywood. So I think it makes sense that they would, not only because of the audience for Insurgent, but just it's a little less money to advertise during the pregame show. So look for that spot there. And then also another pregame spot will be for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, which opens the weekend after the Super Bowl, and that is from Paramount. Now, Paramount has another movie that they're advertising here. That's Terminator Genesis. That spot will air during the game. I think that's an excellent match with the Super Bowl audience, and I think would probably be that along with Jurassic World, or kind of maybe Ted 2 to some degree, but those are your biggest movies advertising here on game day this year. And so I'm wondering if you think that's enough to make you excited about the Super Bowl. When in the past we've had, spots for Marvel movies, Spider-Man, etc., Fast and Furious. Those are usually the caliber of movies we see advertised here. And then finally, Paramount wanted to have a spot for a Hot Tub Time Machine, but apparently NBC wasn't amused by their jokes about the deflated balls controversy that the NFL is currently facing. But of course, how can you not go after that easy joke when you're Hot Tub Time Machine too? But that spot is airing right now online already because it's apparently not allowed to air on game day. So those are the spots. Again, tune back in for my reviews of those trailers that include footage from the actual movies. And I hope, as it says here, you'll vote down below for the trailers you're most excited to see and the ones you like the most after they air. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and you can check out some more episodes right now.